True Sound Studios is in your ears. Hey guys, welcome back to True Sound Studios. I'm Weezna, and today I'm going to show you guys how I built my brand new studio desk. So before we get in this video, please don't forget to check the description box down below. I'm going to list all of the dimensions and angles and details about this desk. And also in the description box is all my mixing and mastering rates if you guys do want to work on a project together. Okay, so let me show you guys some video of me building this desk, and I'll go through exactly how I put it all together. Okay, so here is the basic frame of this entire desk. Right here, this is actually a 1x6 piece of pine. And then back here, this is a 1x8 piece of pine. And there's a second piece, but it's overlapping, that's creating this long piece of wood here. I think this is almost 12 inches. So you got the 1x8, and then the back side, the 1x8 starts about here and goes down here. Now, you got the two pieces in the back to make this nice and strong, and I glued and nailed all this together. Now up front, there's only a single piece, but what eventually happens in the end is, because I have to screw in all these pieces, you know, you're gonna have a lot of different screw holes everywhere. The second piece, when it goes in and gets glued, covers up all those screws, so it just makes it look really nice. And these are all of the 19-inch sections in here. So there's 5. There's a center one right here. And we got 2, 3, 4, and 5 back here. So each one of these dividers is actually 2 pieces of 1x6 pine glued and nailed together, except for the very ends are only a single piece of 1x6 pine, but then I end up doubling it up with an end cap, so we'll get to that later though. And these are cut on 9-degree angles. So it's a 9-degree angle here, and it's a 9-degree angle here. And if you make these all the exact same size, you can literally just cut all of these for the entire thing, and then they'll all be, obviously dimensionally the same. So there is 2, 4, 6, 8. The ends are only single, so 9 and 10 total pieces that make up all these, I don't know what you want to call these, dividers. And then this piece of wood that you see here is just because the frame got slightly out of square in the corners, and so this piece of wood was just helping to keep it square while I continued building. So if we zoom in here at the back frame, so we got the 2 1x8s, and because they are offset, it creates this like bottom channel down here. And because I wanted to keep the same thickness, I added that little strip of wood at the bottom there. And that's just so later on when I mount the legs to it, I just have a wide enough surface to be able to, to go ahead and screw the legs to. So now let's take a look at how the 19-inch rack gear fits in here. So you can see these blank plates end perfectly at the end of the first 1x6. So then, the piece of gear that would go then to the left would have its own 1x6 to sit on, and this way, they have something to mount into. So you can see this is one of the 1x6s, and then glued and screwed together is another 1x6, creating this wide piece of wood. So to be safe, you could make these 19-inch rack sections just a smidge bigger. Now I have mounted the armrest. So this armrest, this piece that goes from here right to there, that is a 1x8 piece of pine, and that runs the entire length. Now if we get to the end here, what you'll see is I let it go off over the edge because I wanted to first mount it to the entire desk so that it was just a very perfect length, and then I drew this line after I screwed it in there, and I eventually cut it off. This shelf is actually for the soft tube console 1 fader. I don't actually have it yet in this video. You can see this is the console 1 right here. Because the two of them are exactly the same size, I do use it as a reference point. Okay, now looking at the meter bridge structure, this is what's going to hold the whole thing up. There is a 1x6 at the very top there. And then I have these triangular pieces. There's 4 of them. That is really helping to provide a lot of stability and structure for this meter bridge support. And not only do I have these triangles, but everything has been glued and screwed. Okay, so now what I've done is I've taken a router and I've routed out this edge. It goes down about 1 inch. And the reason I did that is because some of my older pieces of rack gear have mounting hardware for the rack ears that stick over further than the newer pieces of gear. The newer pieces of gear are a little smaller. So I routed out this edge on every single rack section, both sides, in order to give enough clearance for some of this additional hardware. So before you go ahead and build this, definitely check out all the pieces of gear that you have. Okay, so on the meter bridge here, this is going to be the first LED meter. Here's one of the Amazon Fire tablets that's running the frequency analyzers. Then up here is going to be where the main studio monitor is. And then we got another one of the tablets and another one of the LED meters. This is the very center of the mixing console. So I got the console 1 fader right up front, the console 1 to my right, and then my MIDI controller to my left. But dead center is going to be that SSL mixing console. I'm gonna put all my EQs to the left, all my compressors to the right, and then the very far right's gonna be patch bay, interfaces, and mic preamps. And then all the way to the left of the desk is gonna be just other stuff, you know, reverbs, delays, other pieces of rack gear that don't really fit into the whole EQ and compression type categories, I guess you would say. Another thing that you might notice is some of these holes in here. Those I just drilled for maybe power supplies or just cables that needed to be mounted on the back side. So looking at the back of the meter bridge, you can see now there's an additional piece of wood on top to kind of finish off the top of the meter bridge. I've added some additional wood on the inside to help mount and support the different things that I'm going to be installing in here so that everything fits and has its spot. So here I'm making the end caps for the mixing desk. So you can see this is just 1/2 inch MDF is what I cut this out of. I traced the entire thing, cut it out with a jigsaw. It's also how that front armrest gets its additional support is from that. So these I'm also making removable because I want to paint them a totally different color. So now I'm taking off the front armrest, and that's because now I'm gonna go ahead and paint the entire thing. The armrest is getting wrapped in like a faux leather type fabric, and I've just found that it's easier to remove the armrest so that you can wrap the fabric and do all the gluing and stapling. Okay, so these are just temporary legs so that I can paint this, but I need to get it off this table, so see how strong I am. Oh, shit. So after that, I spray painted it black. It's a nice flat black. Just spray painted the entire thing, top to bottom, front to back. Just made sure I got everything except for the very bottom. I reused my metal legs from my Allen Heath mixing console. I had to slightly modify them to make it fit into this new design, but you can see these are those end caps that I think really look good, a different color. Also, obviously these add some structural support to that front, that armrest up front there. So I think it turned out really great. Eventually I end up putting some little caps over those screw holes, but you can see all of the cabling that I still have to hook up and all the gear I gotta mount. So now I'm using a laser to make sure I set the mixing desk exactly in the middle of the room, also find the exact middle spot, and this way I can also measure to make sure that both of sets of monitors are perfectly spaced out from that dead center mixing position, which is 1/3 of the room. That's how you figure that out. It's 1/3 your total length of the room. So here I'm literally measuring to that post that I had set up with the laser to make sure it was all dead center in the room. I measured the center point of the room from the front to the back, made sure that was perfect, and checked it with the laser, and now I'm just checking with the tape measure to just make sure it's all absolutely perfect. So don't forget that I work in this room every single day and do mixing and mastering, so being perfect to me does matter. Okay, so these are the dimensions for the entire desk, and I will list all these in the description. So the entire desk is 8 feet 1 inch long. Each rack section from one edge to the next, where the piece of rack gear can go into, is 17 3/4 inches wide. from the very top of the rack to the bottom is 24 inches. The height from off the floor to the front edge of the armrest is 30.5 inches. And at the very back, the height off the floor is 35 inches. And then the top of the meter bridge off the floor is 41 inches. And there is 13 rack spaces per section. So this is it. This is the final result of the mixing desk. Now I would say it's about 95% done. There's a lot of little things that I still want to do, some customization of some things. And I have some gear that I'm in the process of making and or designing that's going to kind of fill in some of the blank spots. But this is it. I think it turned out really awesome. I love it. I also really enjoy the fact that it's almost exactly the same design as the Allen Heath, so it doesn't really feel like a giant change. So on a little side note, you got to remember that, you know, if you're going to have as much gear as me or even half the amount, and you're going to put some big heavy mixer in here, you got to really make sure that this frame is really strong. You know, I doubled up the pine 1x6s and the 1x8s in the back. I'm using 3-inch steel, solid steel legs to hold this up. But even with how overbuilt it is, you know, there's a lot of weight. I put the legs at the very end, and there's a lot of weight in the center of it. After you start adding cables in there, it gets heavy. So just make sure you really over-engineer it. Or if you're going to put legs at the very end like I did, you know, maybe add an additional leg in the center just to help alleviate some of the stress that happens in the very middle of a desk like this. So if you guys do have questions, you obviously can leave them below in the comments. I'll try my best to, you know, answer them. Another great way of contacting me is through Instagram. If you go ahead and find True Sound Studios on Instagram, send me a DM. It's a really great way to share some pictures back and forth if you guys do need some, you know, some further details. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. So thank you for watching this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, click that like button and consider subscribing for more content. So not only do I make YouTube videos, but I also produce tracks and I can mix and master your music. So once again, thank you for watching this video. I'm Weezna, and True Sound Studios is in your ears.